So in this video, we're going to be looking at lifecycle events in LangChain. Lifecycle events in LangChain. Now, chains operate, and a lot of what they do, we don't have visibility into them. It goes on behind the scenes. But lifecycle events give you the ability to hook into certain points in the lifecycle of a chain and log information, get stuff on the details of the data pipeline, what is passing through, what is coming out, and also on functions. Yeah, run functions, take actions based on a particular event that is happening within your chain. Any sort of runnable chain that you've created, you can hook into these lifecycle events and even use them to catch errors, which is very, very important when you're running these chains. You need to be able to catch errors. So in this video, let's get to our whiteboard. In this video, we're going to be looking at lifecycle events. And like I said, let's say we build a chain. And I'm just going to be describing the chain we're basically going to be building in this demo. So let's say we're running a chain that is prompt template model, prompt template model, and our parser. Prompt template model and parser. We all know that the user query gets to enter at this point, and the response comes out at this point. Everything that happens within these components, we don't have visibility into them. We don't have visibility into them. And sometimes we want to take actions when some things happen, or even just take action when an error occurs. So because of this, LangChain gives us lifecycle events that we can hook into and be able to get this information that is coming out from our chain when it starts, when it ends, and when there's an error. So LangChain comes with a function called with listeners. With listeners. So there's a with listeners function that we're going to be seeing later on, or with listeners method. And this method can take 3 arguments, which represents 3 events that it supports. It can take 3 arguments. The first one is on start. On start. Pardon my writing. You're going to see better when we start coding. The second one is on end. And the third one is on error. On error. So we have on start, on end, and on error. This is going to be triggered once the chain receives the input. On start is going to be triggered once the chain receives the input, because that is when the operation starts. That's when the chain starts running. So once the chain starts running, on start is going to fire, and you can hook into that event and give it a handler. The handler can help you. The handler gets information about the run at that point, at that start point, and you can also run different custom actions based on an event. Then when the chain ends, which is when the output is produced, this event fires. The on-end event fires. It fires so you can have access to the output, and you can have access to other information, transformations, and stuff like that. So yeah, on start, when an input is received and the chain starts running. On end, when the output comes out and the chain stops running. Then on error, at any point any error takes place within the chain, the on error event is going to fire. The on error event is going to fire. And to help you handle the error gracefully, it helps you handle the error gracefully so that you can handle the error reliably in a way that your application is not going to crash. Yeah, you can just self-heal from the error or retry the chain. Any kind of mitigation strategy you have for the error, you can implement it at this stage. So these are we're going to these are we're going to be handling these events. Each event handler is going to take a run object, which comes from LangChain's tracers. It's going to get a run object. We're going to be seeing that when we code. And from this run object, you can get so much details. You can get details about your input. You can get details about the output of the chain. And if you added some configuration parameters with something like runnable config, you can get tags. You can get your metadata, and so on. So we're just going to be running a simple demo now, which uses this very, very common chain, prompt template model parser chain. We're going to run that simple demo, and we're going to use on start and on end. We're going to in this demo we're going to be using on start and on end. For another video, which you watch out for, we're going to be doing on error, because we need to prepare an error scenario where I don't want this video to run too long. So this video is probably going to be in two parts then. So here we're going to be dealing with on start and on end, and it should just mainly be for information gathering or what entered, what came out, and stuff like that. Then in another video, we're going to do handling errors with lifecycle events. So we're going to create an error scenario, cause our chain to fail, and undo the error, and also investigate the error. So yeah, let's get into VS Code. So now that we know how lifecycle events work, it's time to start writing some code. Now, the first thing we're going to do is, let me put my command line. Okay, yeah, the first thing we're going to do is to create a virtual environment. Yeah, so let's create a virtual environment. Let me just delete this. I'm going to be using the VS Code command palette, the Python extension to create my virtual environment, just to get it up and running fast. If you're not using VS Code or you don't have the extension, install the extension. It will make your life easier. Or if you're not using VS Code at all, you can just use the manual process of creating it through the command line. So now we have our virtual environment set up. And if I pull up my command line, you'll see an RVMV, which shows that, yeah, we're in our virtual environment. So that's the first thing. The second thing I'm going to do, we're going to be using OpenAI as our chat model. OpenAI is going to be our chat model. So I will need to add the OpenAI API key so that we can have authenticated access to the OpenAI API. So to do that, you need to say export OpenAI API underscore key, OpenAI underscore API underscore key, and you set that to whatever your API key is. Now, API keys are sensitive, so I'm going to be adding mine off camera. So I'm going to be back. So I have added my key. That just took about a few seconds. And the next thing we're going to do is to install dependencies, our dependencies. For this, we're going to be needing LangChain, LangChain Core, and LangChain OpenAI. So yeah, those we don't have any other special package we're bringing in. So let's say pip install LangChain, LangChain Core, and LangChain OpenAI. LangChain Core, and LangChain OpenAI. So with those in place, let's just hit enter. Oh, unknown command LangChain. I didn't put the install command. Let me do Control A, right? Yeah, Control A to jump to the front of my command and write install here. Cool. So now we have it being installed. Sorry for that mistake. So yeah, been installed. And while that is being installed, I'm just going to create my file, the file that we're going to be using for this project. Not a folder, a file. Do that again. I'm going to call that lifecycle triggers. Lifecycle triggers.py. Yeah, so here is where we're going to be writing all our Python code for this demonstration. So let's close out of this. Now that we have this in place, we can start importing our modules. So first, I'm going to be bringing in the prompt template, the chat model, and also the parser. So let's just speed run through that. LangChain Core prompts. Let's import chat prompt template. So we're going to be using a chat prompt template. Then next, let us bring in our language model, or our chat model rather, which will be LangChain OpenAI. So chat OpenAI. Then let us bring our output parser. So that will be also from LangChain Core. LangChain Core is really powerful. So from LangChain Core, let's get output parsers. Yeah. So I will import our string output parser. I'm always careful to spell this correctly. So string output parser. Get that in place. Now we're also going to be bringing in two other things. That is going to be first, and we're also going to be bringing one other thing, which is very, very important for this demo. And that will be the run class. So the run class captures all the details of a runnable run. So say LangChain core.tracers.schemas. Then we'll say import run. Yeah, run. So everything like the run ID, the parent run ID, every detail that we need from our runnable run, from the run of a runnable, when it's invoked or when it's batched, or when streamed, this is going to capture everything. So that's good. That's good. Let us quickly set up our model. So let's have that in place. Chat OpenAI. We're going to use GPT 4.0. GPT 4.0. So going with GPT 4.0. And now let us set up our chain. This will be a fact-checking chain, or basically a fact chain, just to tell us a fact, not a fact-checking chain. It's just we're going to give you something, and it's going to tell us a fact about that thing. So if we say, let's say babies, it's going to tell us a fact about babies. Like babies like to cry, babies like to sleep a lot, and stuff like that. So a fact chain, the first thing that will be inside will be our chat prompt template. And we're going to call the from template function. And we'll just say, give me a very short, simple fact about, then we introduce a dynamic topic. So we want it to give us a short, simple fact about a topic. So we can give it the topic and it will give us any fact about it. So let us pipe that, let's LCL that to our model. Let's put our model here. And let's pipe our model to an instance of our string output parser. An instance of our string output parser. So I'll get the result as a string. A simple string, no AI message, jargon, and all those other verbose details. So string output parser, model, we have our fact chain. This is the chain that we're going to be monitoring with our listeners. So with that in place, now let us create our event handlers, So these are the event handlers that are going to be run whenever we attach them to a particular event and that event is triggered. So we're going to be creating one for the start of the run and for the end of the run. We're going to create one for the start of the run and we're going to create another one for the end of the run. So those are the two we're going to be creating. So first, let us create the very first one. Say define. So it's going to be a function, definitely. Handlers are functions. So we're going to say my listener on start. My listener on start. And like I said, this is going to take the run. It's going to take an instance of the run. It's going to take an instance of the run. So that is the main thing that's going to be in this, that's the main argument that we're going to be passing to this function, an instance of the run, because that captures all the details of the run. Every single detail you want about the run is inside this particular run class. So let me add some documentation there. The logs when the chain starts, accessing data from the run object. Yeah, I'm just putting this there so that in case you go to the repo where I'm going to be putting all these code demos, you can know what we're doing. So yeah, just a little note for you. So first, now let's start printing. Let's start printing stuff. So the first thing we're going to print is the name of our run. One of the things you can configure with your chains is the name. You name the runs, the different runs. And it helps with things like tracers and monitoring tools. For example, like LangSmith, if you name your runs, it's going to really, really be helpful in LangSmith because you're going to be able to identify the runs instead of having to go with the default names that are given to it automatically by LangChain. So let us start first by printing out the name. I'm going to say, this is going to say listener start. So we can know that this is what runs at the start. Let's have the name. And that will be the run.name. That's the name of the run. Next thing we're going to print out is the run ID, which is another detail that each run gets. So a special identifier for the run itself. So we say run ID, and let's just put the run ID here. Run.id. So we get details for the run. The name for the run rather. We print out we print out the name for the run and the ID for the run itself. So that's cool. The next thing we're going to print out is going to be, let's have our F string back there. Going to say inputs. So inputs, because it's going to run at the very start, we can get our input. So we can get what actually went into the first step of the chain. So inputs, and we can simply get that from run.inputs. That'll be good. Run.inputs. Just going to try and put a new line here just for good measure. So we have print. Another thing we can print is the parent ID. Yeah, we can print the parent ID. So I'm just going to say parent run ID in case we just have like an hierarchy of runnable runs. So parent run ID, you can get that from run.parent run ID. So it's already giving us some intelligence there. So parent run ID, and yeah, we can print some of our configuration parameters like tags and metadata. So let's show them some love also. So let's get our tags. So for tags, we can get that from run.tags, and also print our metadata, even though now we're not adding any. So metadata run.metadata, but we don't get that directly on the run object. We get it from an object called extra, where we can call get on and then query for metadata. Then query for metadata. So this is how you get metadata. It's not directly on the run object. It's from this extras object. So we get that, and yeah, this should be enough. This should be good for the start. Enough login for the start event. Now let us get some details for the end event also. So we're going to create our handler for the end event. It's going to be my listener on end. And it will also take an instance of the run object. So type run. So we get that in place. And yeah, let's start printing stuff also. So I'm also going to add some statements here. Say logs when the chain successfully ends, accessing data from the run object, just as the other one. Okay. So on listener end, now let us print stuff out. First, I'm going to print something similar to this. Okay. I'm just going to copy this. Yeah, because a lot of it is going to be similar. I'm going to copy this, and I'm just going to change some stuff. For example, this is not going to be start, it's going to be end. But we're also getting the name and the run ID. This time, instead of inputs, we want to get outputs. And not just outputs. First, we want to get the output type. So we want to get output type. And to get output type, we are going to get that. Let me just take this out. I'm going to say type, bracket, then I will say run.outputs. Run.outputs, then we're going to get the name for that. We're going to get the string name for that. So type, run.outputs, we get the name. Then aside that, we also need one more thing. We want to get the output value. That's the output itself. Output value, that is going to be the actual run.outputs. That's going to be the actual run.outputs. So we get the outputs, output type and output value. Parent ID and metadata and all those stuff are just going to stay the same. They're going to stay the same. So we're logging it for both the input and the output, or we're logging it for both the start of the chain and the end of the chain. That's our parent ID, our tags, and our metadata. So now we have these event handlers written. Time to connect them to our chain. Our current chain doesn't have any knowledge of them. So we need to create a new advanced chain that has listeners. So we're going to say fact chain with listeners. So fact chain with listeners, that's the enhanced version of the chain. And this is where we're going to call the with listeners method on our chain, on our actual chain. So we call the with listeners method on our main chain. Then we give it handlers for the events that we want to watch. The first event is on start. And for that, we want it to be handled by the handler my listener on start. The next one, as you may have guessed or seen from my whiteboard session, is on end, the on end event. So we get this function and we stick it here so that it can be called when this event, this on end event, triggers. So we get those two in place, and now the chain we're going to run is this fact chain with listeners. That's the one we're going to run. That's the one that has the event handlers. So let us run this chain. So here I'm just going to say results equals, then I'm just going to copy this fact chain with listeners, so I don't have to type it all over. Let's invoke it, and let us invoke it with our topic. Remember that we added a dynamic topic variable so that we can give it any topic, and it will give us a simple fact about the topic. For this one, I'll just tell it to tell me something about the Eiffel Tower. the Eiffel Tower. Yeah. So the Eiffel Tower, that's all we need to pass in. And then we can print our final result. Say print f string. Let us add a new line. Final result. And I'm just going to print out the final results and say result. So that's our final results. And right after that, let us just have some delimiter to just separate it. Even though right now it's not like we're going to be running anything after that. But let's just say, yeah, just do this 50 times. Then let us concatenate it with another new line character. Okay. So that's cool. Before we run this, let us walk through it quickly. We created a simple chain. We call it fact chain. And what it basically does, it gives us a simple short fact about a topic. It is made up of a prompt, a model, and a string output parser. Then we created the two listeners for it. Each listener takes a run object. The run object contains all the information about a runnable's run or a chain's run. And we printed out the name, the ID, the parent ID. Then specifically for both of them, we printed out the inputs for the on start event, and we printed out the outputs for the on end event, because one is going to help us see the input that comes in, the other one is going to see the help us visualize the output. So now let us run this chain, the moment of truth. Okay, so I'm just going to clear this, pull the command line up a little bit. Now we can say Python lifecycle triggers. Python lifecycle triggers. Make sure you add your API key. Make sure you add the OpenAI API key. Or if you're using Gemini or Claude, make sure you add their own keys. So let's hit enter and hope the demo gods are on our side. This should be running right now. So the first one is running. The first event ran when the inputs were received. And the second event has run, and now the run is over. Now, if we look at this is where we ran the file, the Python file. And we can see our handler here. It says listener start for runnable sequence. We have a runnable sequence. The run ID is this auto-generated ID, it's a UUID. And the inputs that we give it is topic Eiffel Tower. Definitely, the Eiffel Tower. No parent ID, because it's just the first and only chain. And no tags and no metadata. Like I said, if you added tags and metadata through runnable config, that's through the config option. Then you can have those. And but we don't have any right now, so yeah. Then for the end event, we have listener end for runnable sequence. We get the ID once again. The output type is a dictionary. The output value is a dictionary that says output. The Eiffel Tower was completed in 1889 and was originally intended as a temporary structure for the 1889 World's Fair in Paris. No parent run ID and no tags, because we didn't supply any. And it gives us a final result. So final result, which is actually where we printed out our final result. So we're the ones actually doing that. So we printed out our final result here, which basically is this output. The output that was generated here, you see, is the same thing as this final result. So As you can see here, this is very, very useful for monitoring. This is very, very useful for logging information, for tracking and troubleshooting your chains. And like I said, in this demo, we've been able to look at on start and on end. In another video, we're going to be looking at on error. We're going to basically design an error scenario, and we're going to look at how we can use the on error handler to debug errors within our chain. So that's why I separated that into another video, because we're going to be doing some more work there, and that is a topic that is going to be very, very important if you're going to be building chains in LangChain. So yeah, see you in that video.